Let's take a look at Mamdani in cut one, Chris.
We've seen on Tuesday evening, we saw Democrats turn out in districts across the city to make clear that they were tired of tens of billions of dollars being spent in our taxpayer dollars to violate international law, to kill thousands of civilians. And you and I know that right now the way that Palestine is described is as if there is a ceasefire. That's the language that's typically used. More than 1,000 Palestinians have been killed in that ceasefire. And what New Yorkers want to see is a politics of conscience, a politics of clarity, a politics of conviction. And to follow international law, to believe in the humanity of all people, it shouldn't be a journey too far. And I think that our party needs to hear what Democrats are telling it.
So what I want to ask you both is, I know that these are a handful of candidates in a landscape of 435 congressional districts, but is there a trend here in the Democratic Party, and what are we to make of it? Let's start with you, Annelle.
I certainly think it is significant because we know this corresponds to the fact that we've seen support for Israel slipping on both sides of the electoral spectrum, but in particular among Democrats. So just this morning, news from the AP and AP NORC poll that found roughly half of Democrats believe Israel has committed genocide against Palestinians. Only about 2 in 10 Americans say Israel has not, and the rest, about half, say they don't know. We also saw the figure that I believe it was 58% of those surveyed felt that, or no, it was 58% of Democrats view the U.S. as too supportive of Israel, which is an increase from 45% in early 2024. So the fact that we're seeing strong showings from candidates who have pledged to not take any support from AIPAC or other elements of the Israel lobby ties into just this cratering U.S. support for Israel, especially among Democrats, but again is also reflected in particular among young Republicans who tend to come at it more from this question of how on earth is this an America First policy for the U.S. to be continuing to send billions of dollars every year to Israel, to have been dragged into an unnecessary and completely humiliating war with Iran by the Israeli prime minister. So in general, the fact that we've now had 2.5 years of genocide in Gaza live streamed on all of our phones is really taking a toll. And so I do think on the one hand it's significant. On the other hand, it is important to keep in mind which districts we're looking at. So although you certainly had DSA-linked candidates in New York City and then in Denver doing quite well, that isn't necessarily true across the board, and especially looking at elections in other parts of New York, more establishment candidates did tend to do better. So I don't think this is necessarily a pattern that we'll see across the entire country, but I do think it is significant.